Alrighty, so the first thing is that contribution share. I tried to condense this to get a few more numbers off the page, but sometimes it's a little tough because I want to make sure you have everything on this slide. But this is essentially the recommendation as far as what we are presenting on increasing employee cost share and the overall county increase to fully insured equivalent rates for essentially what those rates are going forward into 2026. So a lot of different numbers on here, but essentially what this is saying is you can see what I've highlighted or circled for 2026 of what we're proposing those employee rates to be. Basically what that is we increased your total funding rate, so how much the county and employees pay, by 10%. That 10% is shown there on that column to the left of the employee rates. And then keeping the current cost share the same as it is today. So employees pay 15% of this rate up here on the buy-up, and then they pay 0% on the base. So that's what those employee rates would be going forward. We do have a few other illustrations in case you have questions.
Because we looked at 15%, 15% increase.
Correct. So we still have the 15% cost share option available to show. As we continue to talk and evaluate the costs and the trend going forward, we do see that large claim frequency going down, which is a good thing, right? But not to keep rates flat by any means, but potentially have some bandwidth to take that 15 down to 10%.
And I think that's the thing that Tammy and I discussed, was we were waiting to see a little bit more of how many individuals applied and were accepted to the Samaritan Fund. Currently, correct me if I'm wrong, Tammy, I think we have 4 members who have been accepted to that, to the Samaritan Fund. I think also with what you'll see later on in the presentation with the new quote from the stop loss carrier, you'll see that normally those premiums go up, and they are going up, but in a very more manageable way.
I mean, if your recommendation is 10%, I'm certainly happy with that recommendation. My one caveat continues to be is, long term, and this time next year, like, is it still sustainable for the county to have a zero cost share product? And are we out of step with, even not looking into, private sector, if we don't think that that's a fair comparison, although Commissioner Young, makes valid points around where salaries are. But is this something that we have to take on more holistically? And as we're increasing the amount for the buy-up, are we pushing families into the no participation, as our benefits are becoming more robust with things like maintenance medications and so forth? So, if your recommendation is 10%, I'm certainly satisfied with that. But I continue to push on you all about whether or not this makes sense in this marketplace, and if it's sustainable over time, because we are relying on the Good Samaritanship of the Good Samaritan Fund, and employees choosing that because it's better for them, to keep our premiums low, and that seems very risky to me over the long haul.
I think to answer your question, I don't know if it's the next slide, but there is a slide that Allison and them have put together that does show that our plan, in comparison to the private and the other public sectors, is a rich, is a fairly rich plan. Obviously, if you're on the zero-based plan, you have a higher deductible and out-of-pocket, so there's obviously some trade-offs, but this shows a 15% premium, what that looks like compared to those that are in the private and public sector. So Allison did do what you had discussed last time.
Yeah, and Commissioner Jones, I think that your concerns are valid, right? As we continue to see the slow transition of individuals moving from the buy-up to the base plan, because it is a no-cost option. So, when we look at this benchmark and we see the 15% cost share still being more generous than benchmark, obviously that means the 0% is very generous. and something that the county continues to, show as best-in-class benefits compared to other counties in Ohio, and certainly on a national basis as well. So I do think that it is something to continue to monitor very closely, especially if we see, where's the trend with pharmacy, right? When we don't have enough mature data to see what it's doing with medical trend, but this time next year we should. And that should hopefully be a good indicator of, okay, is this the moment where we need to do something with that cost share because that trend is potentially
And
not
is it SEPCO that's the pooled,
Yes.
I mean, I think I'd like to take a look at, again, not for this year,
Yeah.
but I'd like to then test that pooled county
Mhm.
product.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be more expensive and not the benefits that we have,
Yes.
but that is in
Mhm.
effect
Yes.
the real benchmark, and,
Right.
county to county, those
Yes.
who aren't self-insuring
Yeah.
versus the cost benefit of
Mhm.
self-insuring to the county and to the employee
Yes.
both.
Yes. SEPCO, yes, I would tell you the rates for SEPCO, the rates are much higher than where yours are today. From a cost share standpoint, it can vary depending, each county has the right to decide what that employee cost share is still in SEPCO. The other difference with that is flexibility in general, right? It is more of that fully insured plan where you don't have the opportunity to do an AeroRx, for
Yeah.
example, or manage your costs.
We control our destiny, yeah.
Correct.
I just like the idea of us investing in things that create overall health and wellness on behalf of our employees.
Yes.
And not just continuing to do something that's out of step with the marketplace because we've shouldn't say we've always done it this
No.
way, but we've done it this way for 20 years
Mhm.
or, whatever it is. And so, as this number keeps going up,
Yes.
we owe it to the taxpayers to really push the conversation on this, to understand, there are trade-offs here. So if we're asking for a premium amount,
Mhm.
there are other trade-offs that we can put in there that incentivize different things. So
Yes.
all I'm saying is, I say this every time, and I
Mhm.
think the time has come that, it makes me nervous that we're relying on 4 families here
Yeah.
to keep our premiums
Yeah.
down.
Agreed. I think overall too, making the change from a 2-tier plan to a 4-tier plan was a good initial step of that as well. So I think those incremental changes will help assist with
It
that.
also increases administrative costs.
Mhm.
So the more we have variables in there,
Mhm.
it's increasing our cost to administer the plan,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. All valid
So I
points.
don't know, Tom, are you seeking a decision on this, Tammy, today on the 10% to be able to get your paperwork done for open enrollment?
Yeah, we plan to start open enrollment the first week in November, so we do have to build the Munis system in order to accommodate that.
I'm fine with it, wherever you recommend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stop loss.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to it. Thank you for that. Okay. So stop loss. Essentially, last year what we did was we did renew with the incumbent HCC. We've been a long-term partner of theirs. We kept the individual specific deductible at $325, and we did increase that aggregating specific to $500,000 from $350,000. Remember, last year's stop loss was not a fun conversation. We had
So
a
you had
tough
some
year.
lasered
Correct.
claims?
You had 3 lasers, and your initial stop loss renewal was over 100%. So we got that down to in the 60s by increasing that aggregating specific to 500,000. This kind of goes into that detail a little bit more. Just current stop loss ratio, I think, is the thing to look at. It's a 0%, which is fantastic news.
We did that, starting off on the wood.
I know, right? Exactly. We are eating into that aggregating specific. We're about halfway through that aggregating specific. However, good news is that top claimant. So on this chart, I know there's a lot of numbers. Essentially, it shows you frequency of large claims We do have a large claim over $1 million, however, they're no longer active on the plan. So keep that in mind as well. And you can see in the history of our stop loss ratio, 2024 was not a great loss ratio, hence our increased fixed cost. So us being at 0% is a good thing, especially negotiating with the stop loss market. So really quickly, I'm not going to go over this slide in detail, but we do this every year just to give you perspective and history of how much stop loss premium you're paying and how much reimbursement is coming out. The only thing I'm just going to reiterate here is 2024, hefty stop loss reimbursement year compared to how much you paid in premium. It's the world of insurance. So this is the first year I'm coming to you showing that you actually have been reimbursed more over the span of years compared to how much you have paid in premium. Usually it's a different story, right? So we want to get that more in line, but benefit of having stop loss insurance, right? So we'll get into that recommendation. We did go out to the market to look at quotes. Typically when we do that, everybody declines because of where your fixed cost premium are. Same type of story this year. We received 8 decline to quotes from the market. However, we did get one competitive option that we are recommending to move to effective 1/1/2026. So essentially what happened is the renewal through HCC came in. It's at a firm 25% increase compared to currents. 25%, you can see it's going to increase your annual premium from $590,000 to $737,000. The options that we got from the market is from 180, a reputable stop loss carrier we work with here at Hub. Their initial renewal offer was a 6.4% increase to overall fixed cost. They did firm that number, so it is a firm number from the market, bringing your annual stop loss cost to $627,000 or $628,000. That is about $110,000 annual savings compared to what that renewal with HCC would be.
With no laser provision.
No lasers. So each HCC and 180 have no lasers, which is.
But I would also say is HCC though, in order to even get to 737, wanted us to go into a higher aggregate up to 625.
Correct.
So-
Correct. So yes, the HCC, that's a good point, would mandate that you increase your aggregating specific from 500 to 625,000.
And please correct me, but option 1 with 180 is not, it's a roughly $37,000 increase, no laser for 26, but they've also guaranteed no laser for 27.
Correct.
Which
Correct.
one, option 1 or
Option-
option 2?
Option 1.
But it's the same provider for option 1 and 2.
Correct.
It's just the
Yeah.
difference is how much we are willing to self-insure. So adding
Yes.
another 25% or $25,000 to the self-insurance.
Correct.
brings
That,
it down.
yep, that's the only difference. And what I will tell you is the savings is about $15,000 if you increase your specific deductible to $350,000. The last row on this chart is showing the claims projection adjustment of $78,000 increase. And what that means is over the last 12 months, you would have essentially lost in that battle because you would have expected claims liability of about $78,000 that you would pay. So it wouldn't outweigh that $15,000 savings.
And I think the increase to 325 to 350, to my opinion, is probably not warranted in the fact that that's not aggregate, that's specific for every employee,
Yes.
every soul that is represented in the plan. So, that's a $25,000 exposure times roughly, I'll say 2,000 individuals versus a
So you have
third.
one that meets that, it eats into that.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
recommendation is to go with the new provider under the option 1 structure.
Yes. Yes.
That seems prudent to me.
Yep. All right.
Well,
Well, wow, that was quick. I liked it. All right. Good deal. Okay, so stop loss recommendation, we're good there. I just wanted to bring back up this slide on the pharmacy spend. So this is a continued initiative and strategic pillar of ours going into 2026. So re-emphasizing this, we had a lot of conversations on weight loss, or last discussion. And then one thing before I get to that is I wanted to provide a little bit more clarification on comparing your current PBM, your pharmacy benefit manager, compared to some other ones in the market. One of those in particular is the NACO RX PBM. So this is up and running. I think that they are in the process of just gaining more counties nationally to be a part of it, be a part of the coalition. So I do feel, give it a year or two, the coalition will get stronger from a pricing standpoint once they get more buy-in. But just wanted to point to this chart here on the left, just showing you the comparison of their contract to Evo, which is ArrowRx's PBM that they use. This is AWP, which is average wholesale pricing. So essentially the discounts you're getting from the manufacturer to the PBM. They compare the discount guarantee in your contracts from generics and brands. So really what this is saying is your discounts with Evo are stronger than the discounts that NACO RX is getting right now.
Yeah.
Specifically on brands, and that's where
Yeah.
you're getting a lot of your
Yeah.
costs from.
I appreciate you pulling this in because, it is a new product that NACO is trying to support counties.
Yeah.
And we are members of NACO, meaning we invest taxpayer dollars into NACO for a lot of reasons, and we
Yes.
get benefit out of it.
Right.
And so I think it's really important that we continue to check both against Corsa and NACO because we
Yeah.
are members to both organizations. And so
Agreed.
this was really this is a helpful chart.
Yes, and we'll continue to do that due diligence. The one thing that's not represented on here are rebate guarantees, and that can fluctuate and change all the time. So, you all in your strategic efforts with Arrow, you don't necessarily get as much rebates, but you don't have as much specialty on your
Yeah.
plan, correct?
Yeah.
It's getting on the front end or the back end?
Yeah.
Correct, cash flow, exactly. The other area was on the weight loss medications. So I don't have anything actually written in this slide here, but it goes back to that idea of member experience from a weight loss standpoint and how they get their medications and adhere to it, but also just reducing that cost. So we are continually vetting options here. From a compliance standpoint, we still have some questions from the marketplace and some of those strategies that we can initiate. But short-term goal or resolution here is how do we lower those restrictions, right? But not just open the floodgates, but lower those restrictions to make it easier for them to get access to those. So currently, today, the BMI for an individual to get those weight loss medications has to be greater than 30. So what we're proposing today is reducing that BMI threshold to make it more accessible. What that threshold recommendation would be is if somebody has a BMI of 25, but they have some sort of comorbidity, they would be able to access. If there are no comorbidities, then the BMI would need to be 28.
And I think the other thing that we looked at is once they match those, that there's not this annual verification process.
Correct.
Because at some point, if those drugs are working, your BMI is gonna go below that, and we wanna make sure that
There's
There's not a
reference to
seesaw.
the maintenance
Correct.
medication plan.
Yes, because ultimately, to Martin's point, your BMI probably will be lower, and so then what happens there?
Efforting,
Yes,
efforting.
yes.
So I think this is what we would throw out there. There's a couple other items that they're looking at, but to Allison's point is, we just don't have enough concrete relative to compliance yet, but we thought this would be a good way to at least start 26, is to reduce, and I think there's two things, to not only reduce the percentage, but probably also what I've heard is that continuous have to re-verification process, which can be cumbersome, and I think so it's a two-step piece. And then if there's something that we're able to find in 26 that is a compliance aha moment, we can come back mid-year and ask you if you'd like to change.
I think that seems reasonable. I appreciate everybody's willingness to, I think it was really Commissioner Grossman who asked the initial questions around it, but I think it is, I think a worthwhile investment on the prevention side for us.
Yeah.
I know there's, we're pressed for time. There's one other slide that, because Commissioner Jones had made a comment, and it goes obviously into the rates, but what's the next? I can't remember the order off the top of my head, in all honesty.
The next
The
one.
only other thing I had was the lifestyle spending. I don't know
Right,
if
that's
you
fine,
want-
if you could just show that. This is something that we're looking at, it's something that we had discussed because, actually Commissioner Grossman, I think, had made a comment one time about things like a gym, memberships and things of that nature. Obviously, we have a younger demographic that is a part, I think I showed you a graph, and I have it here if you need it, that under the BOCC, we don't have a lot of our employees are low tenured individuals. Not all obviously younger, but a predominant of those are gonna be younger individuals. And there's things that they look at, so there's something out in the market that we're exploring. Susan has done a great job with Faith and Allison as well, to kind of start looking at possibly offering up a lifestyle spending account. And we can get into the weeds later on, but it has the ability for, folks could use these accounts for gym memberships. If folks are wanting things relative to childcare, you can use it for childcare expenses. And
Is
it
it
gives,
over above an FSA, and do we offer an FSA?
Yes,
It-
oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna, it's above, it's post-tax dollars, so there's nothing from a pre-tax standpoint
Okay,
with
but
this.
we do offer an FSA, correct?
We do, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
because I just see childcare here, which is why I
Yes,
am asking.
yes.
So again, we're just starting to kind of broach it. We just wanted to get more of the, pursue it and see if it's a good idea, or no, we don't even want to entertain that discussion as we go forward. But it was just something that we thought with, younger workforce. I would just freely admit, the directors, we read a book relative to the childcare crisis, and we hear about that. And those in helping keep people get back to work, that this might be something that we could differentiate ourselves in the market. We just wanted to explore it, but didn't want to put a ton more into it if you didn't have a thought that it was worthwhile.
So if it's after-tax dollars, the employee's paying tax on it, is it that's allowed to grow tax-free over time? I mean, what is the advantage to an employee tying up post-tax dollars in this?
So the lifestyle spending account, we went through a few different options here of how do we provide this benefit, right? So to your point about the FSA, Dependent Care FSA is a pre-tax place where you can,
Right.
elect for childcare. I'm very happy that they exist. However, it is very siloed only to childcare expenses, and there are specific nuances there with compliance about non-discrimination testing to ensure who's contributing, how that all works. And it's very specific that it has to just be used for childcare expenses.
But it's only 5,000, 7,500?
It's going up to 7,500 in
Yeah.
2026, but yes, it's
So it doesn't even cover
I-
6 months of a
personal
of a
experience. It
infant.
does not, no. No. However, when we think about your overall demographic, lifestyle spending account could be utilized not necessarily just for childcare expenses, but if somebody doesn't have young kids in daycare and want to use that allotment for funds for gym membership or grocery orders or other things.
Yeah, like, I get it, I'm just trying to understand what the advantage is. I could do that with my post-tax dollars now, so why would I want this option?
So this would be county funded.
Okay,
Yes,
so what you're
yes.
gonna propose is some amount of money. You open this account, you put in $500, or up to, we'll match up to $500, or whatever the
Yes.
amount is. And that would be the incentive for us to put money in there, so there's resources to be able to buy a Y membership, for
Yes,
example.
yes, and then, yes, and you
Yeah,
can choose what it's for.
that's what Susan and I are looking at, is it's something based off of, I'll call it seniority, years of service. If you're here for a certain amount, and so take your 500, from 1 to 5, you start at 250, we'll put into it, and then, but if you've been here for 10 to 15, maybe we put 750. I mean, obviously, it's up for debate, but again, those were the discussions that we were looking at, because I think the FSA, we really wanted to look at that childcare piece, but the FSA just became so restrictive that the lifestyle accounts at least brought themselves up, that it could be something that was a little bit more creative, my words.
Yeah, so the question before us is, does it make sense to continue to spend some time in figuring out something to bring forward? I think it does.
Okay.
Good deal.
That is, so we got the premiums, the stop loss, and the GLP ones, and that was really the three highlights and the direction on this, and I believe that ends this presentation, if I'm correct, Allison?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, is there anything else?
I have nothing else for the board.
Any other comments, Shannon?
No?
One way we have no canes. And we actually don't have a cane. Well, okay, do you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.